Hello, 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 hello. Are you fucking alright? We're back in the chair, man. How are you? Welcome back to Rural Rampage. I am your host, Matt Frame, and welcome back to the Fate of Douglas Blouse. We've had a little break. We've had a little break. It's sweating me bollocks off, cutting me grass. I've also had a touch of the loigy. There must be something going round. A touch of the loigy. I can't come in and I release that fucked bruv. We've all been there. Got it on the run. We got it on the run. Yeah, whatever. I hope you enjoyed our stivvy strolls. That was fun, wasn't it? That was a nice day out. Stolen moments in Stevenson that will last to lunchtime. More of them to come. Yeah, we went everywhere, didn't we? We went over that is on the Causeway level crossing. I took that. We saw the Causeway level crossing, didn't we? That rail is on the Causeway level crossing. Blue steel. The blue steel of the Causeway. Fucking, I shouldn't do that. Yeah, Blue Horseshoe loves Anacon steel. Where did we go? Burger. I'm so shit at editing. Where's his finger? We went from there, didn't we? Ransom Farm, St Michael's Church and the Vicarage, Causeway level crossings, the school, the digit, then we went Bikers Coast, War Memorial, Village Hall. Finished up there, didn't we? Good map, that. Well done, Boyson. So anyway, that was that. Yeah, we've had a bit of a gap, been away. Now we're going back. Gonna hit it hard. Hit me harder. So that's about it. Whatever. What's happened so far? Well, yeah, what has happened so far? Oh fucking hell! My book's fallen on the floor. Where did we leave off? Well, Douglas got busted on the allotments with Daisy, didn't he, silly sod? And she is currently down the nick with Reverend Bowen, which is where we're going to go also. So, without further ado about nothing. Oh my God. Go and put the kettle on. We're on chapter 7, by the way. This is chapter 7. Okay. In the 18 years that Daisy had lived in Steventon, she'd never once stepped foot inside the police station. And were it not for Reverend Bowen, now seated beside her, insisting she did so, Daisy would have preferred to have kept it that way. She sat at the desk facing Sergeant Frisk, who was currently trying to prevent a mini mound of paperwork from being blown away by the oscillating tower fan beside his desk. Pieces of railway ballast sat atop them, acting as improvised paperweights. Okay, Daisy, Sergeant Frisk said, just try and relax and tell me from the start exactly what happened. I think you probably know by now that Douglas is someone we are extremely keen to speak to in connection with the recent incidents reported around the village. If you can help us with that in any way, help us find him, I think that would be of great benefit to us all right now. I've got statements here from all the people we think have so far been the victim of his little crime spree. With yours and the Reverend's testimony, that will lend a lot of weight to our cause. Frisk's smooth reassurance made Daisy feel at ease in his presence. The fan beside his paperwork-strewn desk brought a most welcome breeze to her face, which she had just splashed with cold water in the police station's small toilet. trying to regain a little composure in preparation for the imminent inquisition. She took deep breaths in and out, aware that the need to think clearly was now of critical importance. She fidgeted in her seat, readying herself for the performance. She was going to need all her acting skills if she was to get out of this looking like the innocent damsel in distress, whose only crime was finding herself in the wrong place at the wrong time. And she was probably going to need her secret weapon too. Composing herself, Daisy sipped a glass of water in front of her and began to relay her story, taking Sergeant Frisk up to the point where she crossed the railway line, going on to describe the scene of carnage she had been confronted with at the allotment. "So I went in to have a closer look," she said. "There didn't appear to be anyone around, or at least not that I could see. Just stuff everywhere and all that damage." She paused, taking a hitching inward breath. "I saw a smashed garden gnome and..." She faltered. "I don't know why. It sounds silly, but it was holding a little sign that said, 'Gnome, sweet gnome' on it. Only its head had been cracked open and I felt so sad. I know it's stupid. I know it was just a silly gnome, but..." The tears began to come. "It just got me." Daisy sobbed. Her ability to cry on command had not eluded her, even under pressure. Reverend Bowen stroked her back, soothing her, staring at Sergeant Frisk, who listened intently. "I wish I'd never set foot in that place now," she said, a touch more defiantly. "I should have just gone home and phoned the police. I know that now, but I thought that whoever had done it might still be around, and that maybe I could, make a... What'd you call it?" "A citizen's arrest?" Sergeant Frisk said, raising his eyebrows. "Yeah, exactly. Do the right thing. Be a bit of a hero, I suppose." "Stupid, huh?" "An admirable attitude, Daisy," Frisk said, smiling. "So I went into the allotment, and there was this one shed at the far end, by the wall. You know the allotments by the railway aren't as big as the ones by the causeway. There's only 2 sheds. The one by the bridge probably had the most damage, but it was the other one that caught my attention. I thought I could hear noises coming from it, so I went up to it. The door was hanging open on its hinges, like the other one. I thought it was going to fall off. It looked like a big mouth yawning open, like the entrance to a haunted house or something. I was pretty scared, to be honest," she said, rather pleased with her spooky piece of improvised dialogue. "As I got right up to it, I found a keyring lying on the ground, which had the name Blunsdon on it. I think that's that old alcoholic guy. I've heard Mum talking about him before." "Yes, that's him," Frisk said, thinking Daisy's assessment to be fairly accurate. "The noises sounded like a low murmuring and a sort of faint banging," Daisy continued. "I didn't know what it was. Now I wish I'd never found out," she said, rubbing her eyes. "I went inside to see if I could find out what was making the noise, but it was dark in there and I couldn't really see anything, only those weird pictures on the wall." "Weird pictures?" Frisk asked. "Yeah, like nude women, like you see on the walls in garages, only some of them had like pictures of tractors and stuff taped over their faces. It's really odd." "It certainly sounds it," Frisk said. "Go on, Daisy, you're doing fine," he said encouragingly. "So I stood there, kind of mesmerised and a little appalled, to be honest. I'd never seen such a strange picture. I was already feeling uneasy by that point, and that's when I heard the door creaking on its hinges." The tears began to come again. "It was being pulled shut by someone in the shed," she said, veering into mild hysterics. "It slammed shut and that's when I knew I wasn't alone. I don't know whether he was already in there and had been hiding or whether he'd been outside and coming in. I just don't know." Then he spoke. "What did he say, Daisy?" Frisk asked calmly. "He just said hello. Hello, Days. That's what he calls me, even though I don't like it. Only the way he said it was really creepy, like something out of a horror film. That's when he moved into a slit of light and I saw for the first time who it was. I saw who it was and it was Douglas." "Douglas Blouse?" Frisk asked for confirmation. "Yes, of course, Douglas Blouse," she said in a rising, angered voice. She put her face in the flat of her palm as the tears rolled down her cheeks, Reverend Bowen once again soothing her. "Daisy," Frisk said softly, "I know it's hard for you, but it really is best to talk about it while it's still fresh in your mind." "I'm okay," she said, wiping her eyes and straightening up in her chair. So he opened his can of beer. I think he'd already been drinking. It stank of booze in there. He started telling me how pretty I was, how he fancies me, how he's always fancied me. He offered me the can, which I refused. That seemed to annoy him. He came over, telling me to have a drink with him, getting angry. I refused again, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. The tears welled in her eyes and rolled down her cheeks. He put the can up to my mouth and started to pour it down my throat, getting me in a kind of headlock. I choked and I spluttered on it. It was horrible, warm and sickly. It went all down my top. The beer was coming out of my nose, and then the next thing is he comes right up close to me and she faltered. He let go of the headlock. I was scared, rigid, frozen on the spot. He put his arm around my shoulder. Tears. He moved his hand down my back. More tears. And then he touched my bottom. I'd like to thank the Academy. Daisy Carr buried her head in her arms, weeping on the desk like a pupil who had just finished an exam they knew they'd already failed. Only now they were tears of laughter. She tried her best to keep herself together throughout the whole absurd performance, but that one little B word had set her off, and if she gave herself away now, it would be curtains for sure. The air came rapidly in and out of her nose, her breathing muffled by the arms that hid her grinning face, her shoulders rising and falling with every insincere sob. Then what happened, Daisy? Frisk asked. Reverend Bowen tutted loudly, appalled at what Daisy was describing, completely oblivious to its deceit. Oh, Sergeant, really, that's enough now. Can't you see she's upset? Bowen said, rubbing Daisy's shuddering back. Daisy stayed down, valiantly trying to overcome her giggling fit. Eventually she came up for air. I'm okay, she said, trying to reassure herself as much as anyone else. What happened? Frisk asked again. Well, that's when I heard the barking outside, she said, looking at Moses sitting contentedly in Bowen's lap, and the scratching at the door. I knew that someone must have been outside, and so did Douglas. I think that's what must have scared him, because that's when he bolted for the door. I guess he thought he was in enough trouble as it was, without hanging around for more. I picked up a pair of gardening shears off the table in the shed. I don't know why, some kind of last-ditch feeble attempt at self-defence, I suppose. It was a bit late for that, though. That's when he ran off across the allotments and up the track. Frisk turned to Bowen. And that's what you saw, Reverend. Yes, Sergeant, she clarified. Like Daisy said, he came bursting out the door like a man possessed. And for what it's worth, I believe that's exactly what he is. He bashed poor Moses here right on the nose, she said, stroking the dog. He gave me the filthiest look and was giggling like a little child. God knows what was going on in that deranged mind of his, or where he is now for that matter. That's for us to deal with, Reverend, Frisk said, before taking a long, deep breath. He looked at Reverend Bowen. So you didn't actually see Douglas engaging in any type of inappropriate behaviour with Daisy, Reverend? Daisy looked pleadingly at the policeman. What are you saying, that I'm making all this up? She nearly started again at that one and had to hold a hand to her mouth to shield a grin. No, Daisy, I'm not saying that for one moment. You have clearly been through a very traumatic experience, and I, for one, am grateful to you for having the courage to relive it so soon after it happened. It's just that without any witnesses to an actual crime having taken place, it's going to be a bit hard to prove any wrongdoing. It's your word against his at the moment, I'm afraid. I know that's not what you want to hear, but until we can get our hands on him, that's just how it is, Frisk said, looking down at the papers on his desk. Which we will, he said, looking back up at her. Daisy slumped back in her chair, wearing a look of mild exasperation on her face, glad that for now at least, the show was over. She just wanted to get out of here and forget that all this had ever happened. How's your window, Reverend? Frisk asked. Any news on getting it fixed? It's a specialist piece of 18th century stained glass, Sergeant. I can't just pop down to B&Q for a new one now, can I? She snapped, shaking her head. I think that whatever we raise at the Fete on Saturday is going to have to go towards replacing it, and I doubt very much that even that will be enough. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? She said, crossing her arms and looking disdainfully at Sergeant Frisk as quiet descended in the office. The quiet was short-lived, as seconds later the flapping, walking maelstrom that was Petra Carr burst into the office. Daisy wilted in her seat and shut her eyes. Where is she? Where's my daughter? Petra said in clipped, panicky tones. Daisy sat back, waiting for the inevitable interrogation that was sure to follow. Sergeant Frisk pinched the bridge of his nose, rubbing it gently. He looked about as pleased to see her as she was. There you go. There you go. Petra's on the case. And that's that for today, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in next time for the Rural Rampage. Bye. See ya.